I mentioned a little earlier about this very big challenge we have of getting consumer driver buy-in on this autonomous mission. You all know it's a big jump. We're really making a big ask of consumers in many cases to comprehend, trust, and even change their mobility patterns all around autonomy. So a big part of that I like to tell people when they ask me, friends, family, they ask me about the latest autonomous cars I've been able to experience, and they'll say, so how was it? Are they getting better? Am I ever going to want one of these things? And I'll tell them, every year the cars that I get in and get to take some drives in feel more confident. That's the best compliment that I can give an autonomous car. Confidence expressed by the vehicle makes the occupant, the owner, the former driver, feel more like, yes, this works. And a big part of that is getting the technology systems, the electronic systems to work together, not just barely, but to get them to work together in a way that is seamless, that feels effortless, that makes the car express confidence. So it says, I know what I'm doing. I got this. You can trust me. And move on to more important things with the time you spend inside this vehicle. So to discuss that now, we've got some great minds. We're going to dive into this with Arwed Niestroj, who's the head of R&D for Mercedes-Benz in North America. I've had some of my most interesting insights at their facility in Silicon Valley. We're also very happy to have Thilo Koslowski, who is the CEO of Porsche Digital, and they'll be led in a fireside chat with Manuela Papadopol, who's the head of Biz Dev and Communications for Elektrobit. Please welcome them on stage.
Move this a bit to the front here. Oops. Are you on?
Thanks.
All right.
We're thinking about mixing things a little bit because we want to engage with you. It feels much better and closer to you. Good morning, everyone. Manuela Papadopol, Director of Business Development from Elektrobit. It's a pleasure to be here with you, with Thilo Koslowski, CEO of Porsche Digital, and Arwed Niestroj from North America, President and CEO of Mercedes-Benz R&D. It's great to be here. Thanks, both of you, for coming. It's exciting times, and both of you are working on exceptional vehicles, and I'm sure you have some fantastic news today. How does it work with the digital world? What are you doing in that area?
Well, that's a big question, obviously, and hi, everyone. I know a lot of familiar faces here in the audience, so I'm looking forward to a lot of discussions even after our session here. But digital topics or digital themes are obviously really at the core of the automotive industry these days, and the same is true for Porsche. So we're looking into how we can use all of these technologies, not just to enhance the cars, but primarily to enhance the user experience. And that user experience doesn't have to be limited to the car when it comes to Porsche. That's our perspective on this. So we have a very broad scope on all of these topics because we believe that the brand itself, Porsche, and what it stands for, the exclusivity, the sportiness that we have, and the premium aspects, that we can actually expand on this in all kinds of different areas. And that is what digitalization means to me at the end of the day. It isn't just about the product of today, it's also what we can do beyond this. And of course, at the end of the day, we want to make sure for all the Porsche fans that are out there that a Porsche is still a Porsche. We're never going to change that. That's still the driving excitement that we want to focus on. But there are subtle new dimensions that we can actually add to this, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more.
Yeah. And what about you, Arwed? What is Mercedes-Benz doing in the digital world?
Good morning. I can only confirm what Thilo was saying. So it's really about going beyond the pure car, the pure product. And it's on the one hand, of course, the user interaction. How do you create a great, for us at Mercedes-Benz, a beautiful and very interesting and special user experience? But it also goes beyond this. So the experience will also go beyond the car and the in-car experience. So we think that, as we also learned this morning, the whole ecosystem around the vehicle becomes more and more important. It will be fully connected, it will be autonomous. We will have solutions of shared mobility more and more, as we see already today, for example, like Car2Go in our company. So it'll really go beyond the vehicle itself, but not only on the technical side, not only on the interaction side, but on the overall mobility side.
Mm-hmm. So we're here at LA Auto Show, and it's really interesting because this year we see also a startup. We have a top 10 startup contest. We also have the digital and design challenge. and there's a lot of technology companies here. So how do you work with these tech companies, and what are you looking for when you're engaging and forming partnerships?
So I think that's part of what started to happen a couple of years ago, right? This is now the new era of the technology-enabled vehicle that we're entering, where we have new aspects that we want to bring into the car, and as we just talked about, even outside of the vehicle. So for us, we were thinking about this as a continuation of a supply chain that's now becoming more of an ecosystem, where you have totally different companies and with different assets and skill sets that we want to bring into our world and that we want to leverage in order to create more positive experiences for our customers. And that's what we're looking for. So we're looking for partners, and those could be companies, but it could also be startups, just a couple of guys maybe even, that are coming together. So people, individuals, talents that we're looking for that can help us to really think differently about this. How can we create something with technology that's out there, because that's just a tool, to create this more sophisticated customer experience and focus on the value that comes out of this? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just something that we do to say, hey, we do something that's digital. We want to make sure that there's real value for the end user. So we're looking for guys that have great new innovations, new ideas in terms of business models, that are thinking really beyond the limitations of what the auto industry stands for today, and really start to embrace all kinds of different aspects together. And it's a networking kind of event as well. That's becoming more and more important, in addition, of course, to showing great products here, which we will do in a lot of other companies.
Yeah. It really is a different approach from what we have seen the last 30, 20, 50 years, where we mainly talk to our key suppliers in the automotive world. Now we want to really harvest the ideas from other aspects. And since there are so many different perspectives out there today, from disruptive companies, from service-oriented companies, the new digital big players, that also we have to embrace all these perspectives. And then, of course, we either work with them to really bring them closer to the automotive world and tell them what it makes at the end to have automotive components work in our vehicles, or we work with them to really find a way on our side to bring suppliers into the business and make sure everybody plays his right role, the role he wants to play in this new world of co-opetition, how you say, right? Yeah. So there's going to be more readiness for cooperations, and the classical world where we have one supplier delivering to one OEM and it's all about strong competition, this will be much more, I wouldn't say vague, but much more diverse.
And maybe just to add to this, I think the exciting part of this for all of us in the automotive industry, but also outside of the auto industry, is the technology aspect is not the limitation anymore today, right? Yeah. So we have so many technologies available today at our disposal that it becomes more of a challenge of how to put these things together. It's almost a big bang moment that we're now encountering in the automotive industry. All of these things are coming together. Technologies are readily available at price points that make it feasible to use them in products. We see that consumers are increasingly asking for these things because each of us is getting more digital as well. And we're starting to ask us, why don't these things work together in a different way to make our life easier? And that big bang is a huge opportunity. We're entering this era and phase of the Internet of Cars, where the car becomes a core element of a digital lifestyle that we have. And the car can actually then connect on our behalf to the outside world to create more value for the end user. And that might mean more entertainment value, maybe more productivity, will definitely give you more time, and will make your life safer as well, but also more intelligent. And I think that's where we're looking for to find companies that can help us to define that future. We want to be a creator in that world, not just people sitting on the sidelines and watching it.
So, yeah, talking about new technologies, definitely virtual reality, artificial intelligence, right, deep learning. How are you using these technologies to enhance the driver experience, right? Because after all, Porsche is a driver's car. But how do you use the technology, and that's a question for both of you, to promote the technology, to the pre-sale of the vehicle, the digital showrooms, and then customizing the vehicle and the experience, and then post-sale? How do you look at this technology?
You kind of provided almost all the answers already. So we're looking at the entire scale, right? From pre-sale, sale to post-sale. And most importantly, though, it's all about that customer experience. I want to emphasize this over and over again, because otherwise it doesn't make sense to use any of these technologies. It's all about creating a wow factor, or saving time or hassle for the end user and all our partners that are involved in this. But the way I think about this is we're looking into all of these technologies, and those are already quote unquote established technologies in the sense of we know that they're out there, they're getting better, they're more optimized, there's still a lot of opportunity out there, but we know what to expect. But it's for me really a different mindset that comes with that, because if I think about this, artificial intelligence to me becomes the new engine or the additional engine in a lot of these kind of new things that we want to do going forward. Data is the new fuel that's part of that as well, right? So intelligence is a new power unit that we might use to describe how well we do these kind of things in the future. And then we talked about this. The ecosystem is the new supply chain at the end of the day. So these technologies are just elements. It's what comes out of this and how it changes fundamentally the way we do business. That's going to change fundamentally how we're thinking about this.
As we see this artificial intelligence go into the cars, we see a whole new world opening up. So we will already very soon see in one of our Mercedes cars coming up that actually the car proposes to you what the car predicts that you would want to do. So you don't have to do it yourself anymore, operating certain systems in the vehicle, but the car will know from your behavior that you've shown over the last weeks how you want to do certain things in certain context situations. So that's possible with artificial intelligence. We can predict customers' behavior, and we can then reduce the necessary cognitive load on the driver, on the passengers, and really have them focus on the road, focus on traffic, and make it easier for the passengers, for the customers to actually experience the environment that they want. And this is going to be launched very soon. And this can, of course, be very much extended to, for example, electric driving range that you can predict. You can predict, when we talk about the fully connected world, predict certain behavior, like maybe business behavior or other things where you would like to provide the customer in the vehicle the complete digital experience that he's used to outside of the vehicle. And all of this will be possible with artificial intelligence. And on the other hand, of course, internally in our optimization of our efficiency, this will also help a lot. So it will definitely, I think it's the biggest trend we see, maybe the next big trend we see that is really coming up. And it's now only at the beginning that applications become visible and become manageable, but this will grow in, I think, every aspect of business and industry.
Yeah. No, that's definitely interesting. And also, as we look at millennials and people who are going to use the cars, right, or that live in big cities, and I'm interested in learning how you're addressing the millennials and people that don't want to own a car. Coming to you, right?
I think there is a certain group that does have different priorities in this aspect. But our data, and that's of course very valid in the United States, our data shows that people still own a car. And people, as they develop through their life, when they start having a family, having kids, they still don't stay, all of them, right in the city, downtown, where traffic is challenging, but they still move to the suburbs. And that's something our data tells us. So the general need to have a car, to be mobile, will still be there. So on the other hand, of course, there is a shift in what is important. So it's an interesting challenge for us to, at the same time, adapt to this new mobility behavior and new mobility needs. On the other hand, keep the product as emotional as it is now and as it has been for years. I mean, the two brands of us, for us, emotion is one of the key aspects to sell the vehicle. So we have to keep that emotional. For us, it's emotional intelligence in our brand, keep it with the car, but on the other hand, also provide intelligent solutions for every customer in his mobility needs and daily life.
Yeah, you also have the car sharing, right? So what is Porsche doing with car sharing? Are you looking into that?
You know, I think Porsche was never about just transportation. Right?
Yeah, because I'm not going to give my Porsche to anyone.
Right.
Not even you. It's in your drive.
See, I would offer you mine. I would do that. And I'm sure there are a couple of people out there that would do that as well. So we're looking into this, of course, as well, because there might be situations where you might not have your own car with you because you're traveling, but maybe there are other people that have a 911, for example, or another Porsche vehicle, and they're willing to share it with you. And there are real aspects of this that I think we can leverage for our customers going forward. But I do want to emphasize this as well. For us, it's all about making sure that this aspirational aspect of getting access or even owning a Porsche is still something that people want to do going forward. And that's our responsibility as Porsche, and it's the responsibility of other car manufacturers to make that happen. It's probably a little bit more challenging for those car companies that provide rather transportation than really an experience that goes along with that. But I envision that people in the future will still have, like I did when I was a child, a 911 turbo poster on their wall and grow up with that. I just don't see people having ride-sharing companies as posters on the wall because that's cool. No, that's just like your bus line that you have in a city, and there will be competition for this, and there will be real competition for public transportation, these kind of solutions.
Right.
But I'm definitely seeing that people still want to have that experience because it's so immediate and so special. And that's our job to make sure that people really feel like that.
Yeah. I feel this also applies to some of the vehicles in Mercedes-Benz lineup, right? The S-Class, the Maybach, and...
Yeah. So very much, see, the car still is a very emotional product, and it has been for many years, and I'm very confident it will be because we're doing everything to keep it very emotional, and it's a big decision to choose a car, and it will not be in every situation. There will be situations where I just want a ride, yes. And that's what we also offer already today to some extent, and also in the future to a bigger extent, to really connect all the aspects of mobility.
So talking about the future, what should we expect from you at LA Auto Show, but what should we expect from you in 5 years?
Well, 5 years in automotive terms isn't much, but in technology terms, it's a whole lot,
yes.
right? As all of you know. So definitely you can expect much more in terms of connectivity, intelligence, in the vehicle, providing you with a much better, broader experience that's digital than it has been in the past. And there's some early examples of this, especially here at the show for people that I think it will be the first time for many of you to look, for example, at the new Panamera, which has already a lot of these technologies inside the car, from self-driving capabilities to connect capabilities that we have, to new ways of interacting with the system. And you can expect even more of that over the next couple of years. The Mission E electric concept vehicle that we announced last year in Germany, that many of you probably have seen, is the next quantum leap for us to go into that direction. And you will see this also then being available in a lot of the other models that we have. So expect a whole lot from us, because we definitely feel that this goes hand in hand with the brand promise that Porsche stands for.
Right.
See, we have recently in the Paris Auto Show, we showed our concept EQ vehicle, and EQ stands for Electric Intelligence. So we will, I think in that 5-year time frame, we will show that the time is now right for fully electric, and the battery technology is now in a situation where the range will not any be more a significant challenge when the vehicle is the right vehicle concept. So we would like to, of course, combine this fully electric driving with the rest of the connected, autonomous, and shared world. And that's what we call CASE, C-A-S-E, connected, autonomous, shared, and electric. And we have already started working on these products where we provide this overall connected mobility solution to our customers. And that will be still a very exciting, very emotional product, but it will at the same time deliver all the solutions that you need to, for example, connect it to your, let me call it, electric ecosystem. As you may know, we are also at Mercedes selling batteries. So the batteries we make for cars, we sell them for homes. We're going to be selling them for businesses. So your electric grid around you, your ecosystem around you would also be included in this. So we're now starting to connect the dots, and in 5 years' time, you should have some exciting products that can actually enable this. And at the same time, you will still see very, very exciting and very emotional products. Like, for example, tomorrow here on the Los Angeles Auto Show, we will show a new S-Class Cabriolet. And then that's, a very exciting and very sexy product. So it's going to be both things, still very emotional. On the other hand, ready for digital mobility, let me call it this way.
All right, great. Thank you. I think we have time for some questions. So we'd like to open up the floor for questions. If you guys have any for Arwed and Thilo. There's one. Oh, I think there's stationed microphones. I think you'll have to go to the station microphones. Thank you.
Tom Volk with the New York Times. When you're looking at technology companies, as it becomes a little bit easier for a technology company to make their own car, do you see them as a partner or a potential threat, perhaps? How is that all working out with you folks?
So that's a really good question, right? And I spent the last 20 years in Silicon Valley, and I work with a lot of these tech companies. And I can tell you that, first of all, we have great respect for a lot of these organizations. But I think we also recognize, and they recognize this now as well, that building a car isn't as easy as it may have sounded at the beginning, because there's a lot of work involved. And I think we also have to remember that at the end of the day, if I sit today in a 911 and drive that car on the racetrack, I pretty much trust Porsche with my life. And I'm not sure that this is something that I can easily just apply to other brands that don't have that much experience with building a car that saves me in case something happens. But we have a lot of respect for them. So we see them as partners, primarily. It's an ecosystem that we're building up, and we need to work with partners in the same way that these technology companies need to work and want to work with us. So it's really a mutual kind of give and take, I guess. But we have to see how it will evolve going forward. Could there be new competition coming out of this? Absolutely. But one thing that I recognize, especially over the last 2 years, is that traditional auto manufacturers have stepped up their game as well. And there's a reason for this. If you think about it, a lot of these companies have been around for decades, the car manufacturers. And they, back then, disrupted the world as well, because they got rid of the horse and buggy and replaced it with automobiles. So that spirit, the same spirit that a lot of the technology companies have when it comes to disruption, is something that's in the DNA of automotive organizations, which I find pretty interesting. So I don't think we view them as a threat at all. We're obviously, looking at the market and making sure that we're always better positioned. But at the end of the day, we want to become the digital business creator in this. That's our goal, not just a participant. And we'll work with other companies that will help us to achieve that goal of being a digital business creator.
I can mainly agree. So if the automotive industry would not have moved, I think it could be possibly a threat, because we see many disruptions by the digital technology development. Nevertheless, all companies are reacting, and we are also, of course, strongly reacting. So it's now the question, in which areas can you cooperate and do things together, and in which areas will you rather see a field where you compete? And of course, in shared mobility, that's one of the things where competition is, of course, becoming visible. So, but that doesn't mean that you cannot work together in other aspects. I mean, we have similar situations already in the automotive industry, where there's delivery from one company to another and so on. So these things do exist. And I think the mindset is also changing there, that it's not black or white and there's only strong competitors and ourselves and we don't talk to each other. That's not going to happen. So there is potential to work together, and there is also the need to work together to really bring the best result to our customers, to the society. So I don't think it's not anymore a threat. I mean, strong competition has always been inspiring and challenging, and that's the way the automotive industry has been working for 130 years. So we don't fear that as a major threat. It's really an exciting situation where you see that so many companies and so many experts are really working on bringing technology forward. And of course, we also benefit from them, because that makes technology available that has not been available beforehand.
Yeah, that's right. And there's the new concept of frenemies. And I know there's also, you look at Uber and Lyft and GM and all these technology companies working with the car companies, and also Mercedes-Benz, Audi, and BMW have joined forces and acquired here in order to make maps and navigation better for everyone, not just for...
Yeah, that's a very good example. Right? I mean, here, the company that was acquired is really meant to remain independent of the three owners, Audi, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz or Daimler, because we want to make sure that this company can compete and can be successful in its own marketplace, because that's what really ensures that this company will be able to deliver what we all need, which is the most efficient, the most effective customer solution that we need. So we fully rely on competition as one of the the key ingredients of our business.
Yeah. All right, we have another question.
I'm Jim Motivale. I'm with Car Talk at National Public Radio. Last night, Jaguar unveiled a new car, the I-Pace. It's an electric SUV with 220 miles of range and 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. I know both of your companies are working on cars like this. Should Tesla be scared now that the mainstream automakers have its cars in their sights and they're preparing very effective competition?
You know, I guess you have to ask Tesla that question. But I would definitely say that, you know, we obviously have a lot of respect for Tesla and other companies in that space, but we're not resting on our laurels. So we know what we're working on, and the car that we will bring to the market will have very, very, very impressive and benchmarking related aspects that no other car will actually provide. Typical Porsche type features for our electric vehicle going forward. And we're making sure that it stays like this, such as very short recharging times that might only be 15 minutes to recharge the entire battery, typically Porsche-like for that aspect as well. So, you know, should other companies be scared? Well, we will have a very good setup of products, and yeah, we hope that they will be scared, absolutely.
Or inspired.
Or inspired, sure.
I think they should not be scared more than anybody else should be scared about what we're doing. So that's competition at its best.
Yeah. And ultimately, the driver will win, or the passenger, right, in the case of autonomous driving. Sure. Yeah. I think we have another question there, please.
I'm just building on, sorry, my name's Arshia Grashio, and I represent the startup ecosystem.
Okay.
So my question is just building on what the gentleman from the New York Times said earlier. So when it comes to technology companies, the business model has always been to work with OEMs. So there's nothing stopping them from working for the Chinese OEM, for example, right? And regulation is going to ensure that the hygiene standards of safety are probably taken care of, otherwise that car is not going to get on the road. So from that perspective, consumer purchase decisions are going to be driven by stickiness based on the consumer experience. You're absolutely spot on. So how are you working with getting those innovative consumer experiences to the fore with the startup ecosystem? Are you investing, partnering? How is that going to work in the future?
So we're looking into all aspects of this, right? So partnering, absolutely, that's easy. The auto industry has always done this. Porsche has always done this in the past, and will do so going forward. But we're taking even a closer look. So the organization that we're just building up, that I'm leading for Porsche, will exactly do that. And we're taking a look at even making investments. But we want to even go beyond this. We want to actually look at talents, people that we know in the valley, and like I said, I spent 20 years there, and beyond, right? So we're looking at different places in the world as well, where you have a lot of concentration of innovators, people that have the right mindset, and bring them into our thinking early on, so that we can start working together on things. It's very much open innovation that we have, but under the leadership that we want to provide, because we have a lot to offer to these companies, not at the least, you know, the brand that we have, which represents something, and having that brand is very important. Yes, you know, any new company can build a car going forward and can launch in the market. Doesn't mean that the safety will be the same like you have an established car company. We've seen plenty of examples of this in the past. So bringing that expertise, the brand, and our customers that we have is a unique asset that others do not have, and that's where we're looking for a joint kind of way of working together with that kind of scene of or a community of startups.
At Mercedes-Benz, we really make that a case-by-case decision, because there's very different approaches to this. There's the corporate venture capital, there's anyway venture capitalists. You could buy a share, you could do projects together. So the situation is different depending on what you actually want and where there's a win-win situation. So we don't go just one direction full speed, but we make a good decision about what is really suitable in what situation. And of course, we can only motivate and ask the startups to contact us and show what exciting things they are thinking about and what they're bringing up, and then we go into this discussion. So it's also important to understand that for the automotive industry, it rarely helps if you just buy a company or you just spend billions for buying a company. Then the company is not integrated. So you have to make sure you have the right concept and the right complementary setup to really be integrated, or to possibly not want to integrate them. That's also a different concept. So it very much depends on what it is. If it is, let me say, a technical component that you would add to your vehicle, you don't have to integrate the company. If it's a startup that does digital services, that has an ecosystem, that has their own customer base, the cooperation would look very different. So we try to make the best decision depending on the setup and on the win-win for every partner.
Thank you. We have time for one last question.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm Doug Ballard. I'm with a Spear Company. We're one of the top 10 startups. Again, we make a 500-pound vehicle, all composite, all recyclable composite. Anyway, as you look to the future and you're trying to make things greener, we've been in a kind of lull here with, since low energy prices, so it seems like a lot of the cars now are getting bigger, or the consumer is driving or wanting larger cars. Now, as you look, again, into the future, is there, when you look at like ride sharing with Uber and Lyft, is there a room in there, or have you thought about smaller vehicles that are autonomous, only just 1 or 2 passenger? Because now, Uber and Lyft, they're picking up, just 1 passenger a lot of times, so that's a lot of inefficiency. Have you looked towards in the future about, working or in the concept of ride sharing with vehicles that only carry 1 or 2 passengers?
So we have definitely looked into and continue to look into a lot of different options that we have, because we recognize obviously that the mobility landscape is changing and that the requirements in different regions might become very different in the future. That's all, unfortunately, I can say to this, but yeah, we're looking into a lot of different things. But at the same time, we're also preserving that rawness that a Porsche has, and making sure that our customers will always get a fix there if that's what they're looking for. But we want to be part of that new mobility, proactively be part of that new mobility. So yeah, we're looking into a lot of different options.
Yeah, and if you look at, there have already been pilots being run in this concept. We are at the moment running a pilot in Orange County together with VIA, a startup that is running pool car sharing in New York and Manhattan. We are testing this in Orange County together with them, and we have also announced our partnership with Getaround, which is also car sharing. So of course there's Car2Go, the biggest car sharing company all over the world. So there's many different aspects to it, and as you certainly know, there's many different flavors now. So we have to find out what is the right flavor for what customer base and what regions. So I'm convinced in a dense city environment there will be different solutions which are best compared to a suburban environment, and we have to look at these things. And definitely there will be very different effects on different regions and different effects on different cars. On the other hand, we all know that at the end, when a customer decides to buy a car, and this will still be a significant market share, the customer decides not only because he wants to share the ride every time. So we also have to respect the customer decision and customer selection of the vehicle. So if we find that SUVs are still a rising market and sales number, we have to make the SUVs zero-emission vehicles to meet both worlds, to meet both ends, right? To meet the customer and also meet our environmental intentions. And as you mentioned, the energy prices are down, but who can guarantee they will stay down? So we have to get prepared. We want to get prepared. And that's what we're doing, for example, with our case product architecture that we are now working on.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for your attention and for the questions. And I hope you'll have a great rest of the show. Thank you, Thilo. Thanks, Arwed.
Thanks for having us.
You.
Thank you very much.
Yep.